The Whispering Library. The town of Oak Ridge was quiet and peaceful. It was a small town surrounded by tall trees and wide green fields. People in Oak Ridge knew each other very well, and life there moved slowly. In the center of the town stood an old library. The building was very large and made of dark stone. Ivy plants climbed up the walls, and the tall windows were covered with dust. Many people believed the library was the oldest building in the town. But very few people visited it anymore. Most people preferred to read on their phones or computers. The library had slowly become empty and silent. Only one person worked there. Her name was Elena. Elena was 38 years old. She loved books more than anything in the world. She believed every book had a soul and a story waiting to be discovered. Every morning she opened the heavy wooden doors of the library and welcomed anyone who wanted to come inside. But most days, no one came. Elena did not mind. She enjoyed the silence. She walked between the tall shelves, cleaned the dusty tables, and sometimes sat near the window reading old novels. The library had thousands of books. Some of them were new, but many were very old. Some books were so old that no one even remembered who wrote them. At the back of the library there was a narrow staircase. The staircase led to a small upper floor. Very few people knew about that floor. It was not shown on the town map of the library. Even Elena had never gone there before. The staircase door was usually locked. But one evening something strange happened. It was raining outside. The sky was dark and the wind was strong. Elena was closing the library for the night. She turned off the lights and walked toward the main door. Suddenly she heard a sound. A soft whisper. She stopped walking. The library was empty. At least, it should have been. She listened carefully. The whisper came again. Very faint. It sounded like someone speaking quietly. Elena. Her heart started beating faster. She slowly turned around. "Hello?" she called. No answer. The whisper disappeared. Elena walked back inside. She checked the reading tables. No one. She checked behind the bookshelves. Still no one. Then she heard the whisper again. Elena. This time the sound came from the back of the library. Near the staircase, Elena walked slowly toward the staircase door. The whisper stopped again. Her hand touched the door handle. It was cold. She noticed something strange. The door was not locked. That had never happened before. Elena hesitated for a moment. Then she slowly opened the door. The narrow staircase went up into darkness. The air felt colder there. Elena picked up a small flashlight from the desk and began to climb the stairs. Each step made a creaking sound. The staircase seemed longer than she expected. Finally she reached the top. There was a small wooden door. It was slightly open. A soft yellow light came from inside. Elena gently pushed the door. The room was small but filled with books. But these books looked different. They were very old, much older than the books downstairs. Dust covered the shelves. The air smelled like ancient paper. In the center of the room stood a wooden table. On the table lay a single open book. The pages were glowing faintly. Elena stepped closer. The whisper returned. Elena. This time it clearly came from the book. Her hands trembled. She looked at the page. Words were slowly appearing on the paper, as if someone invisible was writing them. Elena read the sentence. Elena arrived at the hidden library room. Her eyes widened. That's me, she whispered. More words appeared. She is confused. Elena stepped back in shock. How is this possible? The book continued writing. She is afraid. Elena looked around the room. Who is doing this? She asked loudly. No one answered. The room remained silent. The book continued writing. But she is also curious. Elena slowly walked back toward the table. Her fear was slowly changing into curiosity. She looked closely at the page. The handwriting was beautiful and neat. But the ink looked fresh. As if the story was being written in real time. Elena read the next line. She will turn the page. Elena stared at the book. I won't, she said quietly. But her hand slowly moved anyway. Almost as if the book was controlling her. She turned the page. New words immediately appeared. Good. Elena felt a strange chill. Who are you? She asked the book. The page remained blank for a moment. Then new words appeared. I am the story. Elena frowned. That doesn't make sense. The book replied again. All stories are alive. Elena sat down slowly at the table. Her mind was full of questions. Why are you writing about me? The book answered. Because you opened the door. Elena looked back toward the staircase. So this room is special? The page filled with new words. This room holds the unfinished stories of the world. Elena blinked. Unfinished stories? Yes. Stories that were forgotten. Stories that were never completed. Stories waiting for someone to continue them. Elena looked at the shelves again. Hundreds of books surrounded her. Each one silent. Each one waiting. So why me? She asked. The book wrote another sentence. Because you still believe in stories. Elena smiled slightly. That's true. She had always believed that stories were powerful. Stories could change people. Stories could teach lessons. Stories could even change the future. Suddenly the book wrote another line. But some stories are dangerous. Elena's smile faded. What do you mean? The page turned dark. The ink appeared faster this time. A story is escaping. Elena's heart started beating faster again. What kind of story? The book answered slowly. One that should never be finished. Elena stood up quickly. What happens if it escapes? The page filled with dark ink. It becomes real. A loud noise suddenly echoed through the library below. Elena jumped. She heard something fall. A heavy sound. Like a bookshelf collapsing. Elena grabbed the flashlight and ran toward the staircase. She rushed down the steps quickly. When she reached the main library floor, she stopped in shock. One of the large bookshelves had fallen. Books were scattered everywhere. But that was not the strangest thing. Footprints were visible in the dust on the floor. Fresh footprints. Someone had been walking there. But the library doors were still locked. Elena slowly followed the footprints. They led toward the exit. Then they disappeared. As if the person had vanished into the air. Elena's heart was racing. She ran back upstairs to the glowing book. What escaped? She asked breathlessly. The book wrote 3 words. The Silent Man. Elena felt a cold shiver. What does he do? The book answered slowly. He erases stories. Elena stared at the page. If stories disappear. The book finished the sentence. People forget. Elena understood the danger immediately. If stories disappeared, history would disappear. Memories would disappear. The world itself could change. Elena looked at the shelves of books around her. Thousands of stories. Thousands of memories. She closed the book carefully. I won't let that happen, she said. Outside, the storm was growing stronger. Lightning flashed across the sky. And somewhere in the dark streets of Oak Ridge, a silent man was walking, searching for the next story to erase. But Elena was already following him.